What's up, Bitcoin Radio? It's your man, Joe Blackburn. I'm coming at you. We have Mr. John McAfee, the man who loves liberty, who loves guns, who loves women, who loves drugs. He's done it all. He's lived it all. What's going on, John?
Yeah, I'm just hanging out, enjoying the cold weather, and I'm happy to be alive and allowed to talk to you tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. You've had quite the run the last couple, I guess, really the last couple months, and you've kind of experienced something that I would say is not just a little bit unfair, but you've also had to make everybody that you loved and everybody around you. I know Janice is there with you. Inconvenience them. When you went from Cuba, you went to the Dominican, you've gone to the Bahamas at different times. You've been all over, man. You're a world traveler as it is. How is this adjusting to each individual place going?
Well, it depends. I mean, the most difficult adjustment was the Dominican Republic, where we were immediately thrown into jail. I'd say it's probably, not as desirable as when we first went to the Bahamas, and we had sunny white sand beaches, and we're lazing around and drinking rum all day long. So.
Dude, absolutely. I can imagine that that reception in the Dominican wasn't as interesting as the rest. But let's kind of, was that when you're I guess just someone who works with you or one of your buddies, he was tweeting for you. Is that when that happened?
Yeah, that's correct. That's when that happened. We had no access to the internet for about a week, and Rob Lozier was tweeting for me, and fortunately, we barely squeaked out of there. They attempted to deport us back to the States. I fought that through the courts, won, and demanded to go to England, which is where they sent both Janice and I. We landed on a weekend, thank God, because England is probably the closest country to America, and all you have to do is make a phone call and say, grab McAfee and send him back here. But nothing happens on a weekend in governments, as we all know. So we stayed 15 hours in London and then left for parts unknown.
No, and I'm glad to hear that you're safe and sound at the moment, and I hope that continues for a very long time. And with you're one of the most influential Bitcoin personalities in the space, the people who support blockchain, the people who have supported crypto, and it's not just Bitcoin. I mean, you've supported numerous projects, but Bitcoin is kind of the core and the center of this. And John, you've told the story a lot, but I would love to hear how you really started buying into what Bitcoin was preaching. I know it probably didn't take long because you have a cybersecurity background, and obviously you created McAfee, the antivirus system. But what was it that really captivated you and made you believe this is real?
Okay, well, the first I even heard of it was early 2013, and I was living in, 2011. I was living in Belize, and a gentleman who's worked for me off and on for years named Jim Zoromsky, one of the greatest technologists on the planet, showed up and started talking about mining. And at first you go, mining? Am I hearing this right? Mining? What the fuck? Because, and then he explained the thing. I read the white paper, and being a mathematician, I saw instantly not just that one specific blockchain, but the entire concept of blockchains. And there are hundreds of blockchains now. Each with a different purpose, each with a different focus, sure, each with a different set of pros and cons. And I just saw, good God, there's no way to stop this. I mean, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is out of the box. It's Pandora's box, and it ain't going back in. I'm sorry.
Agreed.
It's not going away, and it has a trajectory, kind of hard to predict the timing of it, but it has a trajectory that's going to take over all financial transactions.
Absolutely.
And if you look at things like privacy coins and distributed exchanges, then these are things which cannot be legislated away or monitored even. If you're using Monero or Apollo privacy coins, and you're on a distributed exchange, nobody knows what you're doing. They can't shut the exchange down because it's all over the fucking world. And you have total, absolute privacy and anonymity. Now, the implications of this are the following, and this is why I am in trouble and always on the run, because I point out to the people themselves the weaknesses within government. Well, this is surely a fucking weakness, because if everybody used privacy coins and distributed exchanges, how the fuck do you collect taxes? You can't, unless you go, don't worry about it. Everybody's honest. They're going to tell us exactly how much they've made. Well, listen, you can be totally honest, and it's fine with me if you don't say anything about your fucking income to anybody. It's nobody's business but yours. End of fucking story. So if you want to be deceptive about it, please do so. I will not hold that against you or take off marks for dishonesty. So
in fact, hopefully that's one of those things that you actually appreciate about people, because I know that I've taken a lot of how I conduct my business from a little bit from how you do it, man.
well, good. Oh, listen, don't take it too far in my direction, else you'll be sitting in a tinfoil room with me so that signals can't come in and out, so that nobody can find your ass. Okay, I'm just saying, I give you a fair warning.
Fair.
So this is the issue. And because I stand on stages all over the world, and I talk to my 1 million+ followers and make videos and come on, podcasts like your own and say these things, good God Almighty, I have pissed some powerful people off. But there's no other way to do it. How the hell are you going to, the change is coming? Well, please God, let's get it over with, and so the pain is quick and move on. How else can you do it without telling
point, John?
You got to tell people the truth, else nobody fucking knows. But listen, if you're on a path of loudly telling the truth, and your truth happens to reveal subtle and dark aspects of governments and corrupt people, then goddamn, you better be quick on your feet. And you should be willing to do some jail time. You must know how the system works. Get the lawyers quick, immediately, figure out what they have done wrong in terms of breaking laws and collecting your ass, squeak out and move the fuck on, just like Janice and I did. Does that answer?
Yes, it does. It was, and more. That was a great answer, John. I often remind people, and this is conversations I've had about you specifically, when discussing you, because you got a lot of haters, right? Obviously, that, as good as anybody. But, I say this to people. I said, like, why would John McAfee, the guy who has done so much and been so successful and put himself in a position to have so much for his life, why would he be talking like this and like having to change everything about his life, having to be on the run? Do you think he likes doing that? Of course not. I mean, John would rather probably be at his house, or one of his houses, and just enjoying it with his feet up, drinking his whiskey or whatever it might be, and smoking a cigarette. And, people oftentimes have to put themselves in a position where they can be like, well, I guess that's kind of makes sense. He doesn't want to live this way. I guess maybe he is actually coming with a message.
Listen, rather than just being at my house smoking a cigarette, I want to be by an idyllic little stream full of trout, maybe some small bass, and with beautiful weather and a weeping willow and a picnic basket with some wine and my lovely wife next to me, fucking fishing all day or whatever I want to fucking do. But you know what? If I did that, then I couldn't do this. And I have children and grandchildren, and some of you listening right here, right now, also have children and grandchildren. Jesus God, what is the purpose of your life? If you've already got children, you understand what it is. You brought those motherfuckers into this world, gave them life. Do you not owe them something? And is that something not handing over a world which is better than the world that was handed to you?
Well said.
Well, fuck me. I'm not going to hand over a world which is 10 times worse, which is what it is right now. So fuck me. I don't have any choice. I wish I did. I really do.
No, I love that about you, John. I mean, you found some, it's your what people would consider moxie to stand up and be able to tell the truth to the government and kind of stick it to them. And that kind of leads me into a good point here, or at least a question that I have for you, John. And I, as someone who's been in this space now for several years myself, and who appreciates the personalities and the exposure that these personalities like yourself give, I look at like this. Okay, we have the 2016 election. There was a lot of misinformation on both the left and the right, collusion with Russia, or was there not, or whatever it might have been. But we were constantly just thrown, whether it be on social media, whether it be on the news, Fox or CNN or MSNBC, whatever it was, we were 100% left with just pretty much an opinion that was really, really harsh from one side or the other. And of course, I think some of that's human nature. I don't want to blame all that on manipulating it, but whether it be the great hack that just came out on Netflix, or so many other different opportunities for us to kind of understand, what do you see this 2020 election shaping up to be? I mean, and on top of that, would you say that there's a particular person that would be like worse, or be even in a position that would hurt America even more if that particular candidate was elected?
That is a very subtle, deep, difficult question to answer, and I'll try to give it my best effort.
I probably should have shortened it.
No. I'm glad you asked, because it wakes me up. I don't have to go on autopilot. Here's how I see things. Number one, we are disinformed about everything. The CIA, which informs the government, which then takes the media, which polishes and makes it palatable and informs us, by the time it gets to us, it's utter fucking garbage. Number two, our system has been corrupt for so long that the goddamn thing is frozen. It's like stuck. It needs WD-40 or something. The steering wheel simply is frozen. So it does not fucking matter who's sitting in that chair. The system is going to go where it fucking wants. And the person in this chair will do nothing but rationalize why it's going in this direction so that you will believe they're in control. So I don't give a flying fuck who gets to sit in that chair. I want us to change the system. We have a system where we started out where individuals had privacy and the government had total transparency. Can you imagine?
I cannot.
At the beginning of our government, walking into Washington, George Washington's office and saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" He said, "None of your goddamn business. Get the fuck out of my office." No, fuck me. Yep. He had an obligation to say, "Oh God, not another one." Well, here's exactly what I've been doing. In fact, sit in this chair if you want, because I'm pretty fucking tired of it. Okay, so now that's what it used to be. What is it today? Our government is veiled behind multi-layers of darkness. And we have to open our fucking kimono at every request from the FBI, from the IRS, from the SEC, from anybody who wears a goddamn uniform and knocks on your door. Please strip naked. This is a metaphor. And let us see exactly what you got. And we go, "Well, can I see what you look? Let me see yours." And they go, "Fuck me, we're not playing that game. That's for kids." No. You show us yours, you never get to see ours. This is the goddamn problem. So let's fix that. How? People go, "How? What do we do?" Please God, we don't need a plan. I mean, if we're in a theater and the movie is so enthralling that we're all just glued, and someone turns around and notices a fire in the back of the building, but everybody's glued and don't notice. Do you need a plan? Do you say, "Okay, now let me sit here and rationalize"? No, fuck no. You slap the person next to you. "Wake the fuck up, look, a fire." They wake up too. In 30 seconds, we're all headed for the fucking exits. No one's going to say, "Well, what do we do? What do we do? There's a fire." Bullshit, get the fuck out of the auditorium. No, please, this is exactly the same. We need to, with one voice, scream it out through your voice or through your words on social media, through your images, through your memes. Write your congressman, maybe. Wake up your neighbors. Talk about it at dinner. That's doing something. What does that do? It makes some other person go, "Whoa, I never looked at it like that." We don't need a fucking plan. We need a fucking alarm clock to
Well
wake us
said.
up. I'm sorry?
I said that's well said. An alarm clock.
That's it.
No, John. Well, I mean, that was. I'm glad this is on video because I'm going to make sure that you get that clip so you can put that out there. All right. So with Epstein, you know, in the situation with them and his quote unquote suicide, you know, and like this veil that you were just referring to about how the government works, and you made a video yesterday on your Twitter about it, and I love the way that you shaped it and how the media is the government's mouthpiece, right? And it's you just kind of hit on that a little bit, but like with Jeffrey Epstein, or Epstein, however you say his name, you know, obviously there's a lot of shadiness behind that. I mean, I don't know a single person on the right or left that really believes the narrative that's out there at the moment, but tell me what your opinion is on how that is shaped and how the government gets away with people just kind of accepting that they might be or might not be telling the truth. I mean, they might get some Twitter or some social media pickup, but like really what happens? Like they're not checked.
Well, yeah, I think Epstein is a good example of this. So let's look at the facts. What is the situation? We have a man in prison who has information on possibly hundreds of seriously powerful people who, in his situation, is probably thinking, what deal can I cut? Right? And the people in power are also aware he's probably thinking, what deal can I cut? So this is the playing field. Now let's see how the game plays out. Okay. He's admitted to the hospital with neck abrasions. He tells everybody, someone's trying to kill me. Send him back to the cell under suicide watch, which means you got to watch this bastard so that nothing happens to him. That's dropped. And 1 week into this, before he quote died, his cellmate was transferred out of his cell. What does that do effectively? Well, I don't know. It makes no witnesses. The cameras, oddly enough, they were misaligned, didn't show anything in the cells. The man is 6 feet 2 inches tall, and the bunk that he hung himself is 5 feet 4 inches tall. And he hung himself from that bunk. Well, tell me fucking how? On his knees, leaning over, and his neck was broken in multiple places, indicative of a forceful strangulation.
Yep.
The guards who were on duty were told to go home early, 2 hours before he was found dead, because of maintenance. You know, I am sorry. I am not fond of coincidence as an explanation for things of this magnitude. So I would say there is one high probability of serious fucking doubt. 99%, good God, how could he have done this? 6 feet tall, 5.5 foot bunk, he hung himself from the fucking bunk. No, I don't buy this shit. However, what happened? The coroner, who is what must be God, because he goes, suicide. Never even looked at the fucking cell, never even went to the scene of the death. Suicide. Immediately, the entire media apparatus goes, suicide. And then we all read it from 15 different sources and go, oh, it was suicide. Please, God, people, wake the fuck up. This is how it works. And if it can be done with something this gross and fucking obvious, then imagine how easy it is with 1,000 separate, subtle, small increments of deception. I mean, this is the government you were living in, people. Fuck me. Do you want your life to be the life of a slave that knows nothing about his reality? If so, you are convicting your children to that same life, and their children, and your wife, your parents, your brothers, your sisters. Good God, wake the fuck up, please. It is so obvious. Sorry.
No, please. Like
Well,
I appreciate the longer explanations because they really give a lot of context to the things that sometimes you're limited to on Twitter, because that's a resource that many people, obviously in the United States and the world, use. And when you're able to expound on this for my audience, for people, at least that perspective, your thoughts, your opinions, the facts that you're spitting out too. These things need to be at least talked about. I mean, even if you are wrong about one of these things, right? I think the conversation is absolutely relevant. And by the way, I'm not saying that you were wrong about anything. In fact, I tend to side to believing you and believing with you that might absolutely have been the case. I want to be a little bit careful. I'm an American citizen. I live just north of New Orleans, and I say that for a reason, obviously. But let's kind of take that a little bit into maybe this recent changing of the director with Dan Coates resigning. We had what is it? Susan Gordon, right? Susan Gordon. She was kind of next in line. That's kind of been like the way that the government has always worked, with Susan Gordon stepping in probably behind Dan Coates after he resigned. And that wasn't what happened, right?
For which position?
That's for the National Director of Intelligence.
Oh yeah,
Director of National Intelligence. I'm sorry. I should have said that. Yes. Anyways, but yeah, so the director of national intelligence, Dan Coates, he recently resigned, I guess within the last month. And then Susan Gordon, I don't know if you're familiar with the situation at all, but she was supposed to be next in line for that position. It's kind of historically how it's worked. But instead, Susan Gordon did not get that position. She was actually passed over, and Joseph McGuire was instead appointed. I don't know if you had any opinion on that, or why maybe Trump might have kind of circumvented the traditional way of doing this.
Well, listen. The Director of National Intelligence. I mean, that is so far behind the curtain of curtains. It's kind of, walking the yellow brick road, and before I even see the palace, going, can you describe the wizard behind the curtain? Oh, fuck me, I have no goddamn clue. Neither does anybody. Neither does anyone.
Yep, agreed.
This is the problem. This is the fucking problem. Now, the fundamental problem is there are no more secrets in this world, from nation state to nation state. We live in an electronic age. Every civilized and developed country has the best hackers, the best technology, the supercomputers. I mean, if you're in Russia, I don't care what you're doing, and you take your team into the heart of some ice cave and whisper, after dropping all of your electronic, whisper in someone's ear, we're going to fucking know it within seconds. I am sorry, our tech, you got to trust me. I do know something about computer security.
Just a little bit.
It was my goddamn job, so I know this is true. So it is all a fucking scam. They know there are no secrets from government to government. What do they use that technology for? For the thing they fear the most, the people. Yep. Me, you, every one of us, our government. They call me paranoid. Please take a look at our government. Absolutely. It was designed to be a watchtower of watching the borders, watching for opportunities for peace. The army constantly on watch. Now what? Who are they watching? Us.
John, let me ask you a question real quick.
Yes.
And on that note, what you just brought up is a really good lead into what China is doing with their digital currency, and where government has been too big for how many decades at this point. But now we have to worry about tech, right? Tech is whether they're in cohorts and they're actually working together, or whether the ability for big tech to be able to say, it's actually our show now, because government, you're actually powerless. We can tell whatever we want. We can do whatever we want to do. Where is this where is this all centering into, and what is the result of this too, John? Like, what do you see and envision as what's going to happen based off of what we know and what the government's doing? And you obviously have a very deep and very long perspective that you can give, and feel free to tell me as much as you want, but I don't want to bore you with this question too much. But is tech too big, and what happens when tech actually gets to that point of the point of no return, or are we already there?
Let's back up just a hair and talk about what you first said. China, creating its own cryptocurrency. Every government, banks.
Yep.
You need to understand what this is. This is just a ploy. I mean, go ahead, create whatever cryptocurrency you want. We all know its purpose is going to be to further lock down our financial dealings so that everything we do can be watched. It's kind of like the government saying, you may not smoke weed, but look, drink all the alcohol you want. Did that stop us from smoking weed?
Nope.
I mean, I know one or two people who have smoked weed. In fact, I don't know many who have not. And please God, all of you listening to me know the same thing. And yet for 75 fucking years, the government said, no, you may not. Doesn't fucking matter. Get yourself a privacy coin, use a distributed exchange. No one's going to know. We follow the fucking government. Let them do all the cryptocurrencies they want. Let Facebook do whatever it fucking wants. Whatever idiot wants to buy that and use it, please God, be my guest.
Well said. And so we're like with Google right now and with Facebook and the privacy issues that we've encountered with them and what we know to be true and the censorships and among those things. How can you combat this, John? Like, I mean, like you're someone who's already kind of bit the bullet. You said, you know what? They already know everything they need to know about me. I'm over it, and I'm just going to profess what I believe is the truth. And you've done that, and you've done that as a warrior for your cause. And but for the rest of humanity, right, and the rest of the Americans specifically, we're sitting here, and I brought up earlier who do we believe? How do we know? Where should we get our information from? But there really isn't a clear and cut answer for that because we don't even know what we're getting is the truth. We're hearing something from you. We're hearing something from somebody else that we might agree with or like, or sports fan or a sports player or athlete. People that we look up to. Where do we get this information, and how do we know that it's true, John?
Well, okay. Now that's a very fucking difficult. You mentioned Google. Let's start there. As much as we want to throw stones at Google, and I have more than most,
Sure.
and as much as we abhor their sifting through search results, which might make you want to vote Democrat or Republic or something, and as much as they control everything, they have still archived every fucking piece of information that can be digitally obtained in the world.
Sure.
And do you understand how that has enhanced your life? You hear a brand new word, Google it. You'll get a fucking answer. You don't like that answer? Go to the Urban Dictionary. You don't like that answer? Please God, you have choices. You have options. You have a brain to go, you know what? Google's fucking with me here. Go down 10 pages and start looking at other things.
Sure.
Or Google some other term in a different way. It's all there. They changed our lives. They expanded our knowledge, our reach into the reality of this universe. Good God, first and foremost, before we throw stones, let us give credit for that. Now,
Absolutely.
given that, there's a lot of stones still to be thrown. Why? It's because Google is made up of people. It's a tragedy, like our government. It's made up of people. What are people? Let's analyze that for a second. They are loving, kind, generous, giving, compassionate, gentle, and violent, greedy, jealous, fearful, gluttonous. We are a mixed fucking bag. You cannot expect our corporations to not be a mixed fucking bag. And so, as we do with human society, we try to create a sane means of communicating, being neighbors, being friends, being lovers, having families, teaching our children. We try as best we can. None has succeeded completely. I think the American Constitution is a good fucking start. So the same thing with these corporations. Stroke them and praise them for the gift that they have given us. And then bring a fucking mirror the size of the earth and say, please look at this. Is this what you truly intended? Because really, for most people, most corporations, this is not what they truly intended. I think that the Google management has a decent heart. They just trip up in the dark like we all do. I hope that answers the question.
I think you just nailed it, John. I think that what you just said is probably the most relevant answer I've ever gotten to that question. And, you know, it's one of those things where you could say the same thing about whether it be the Republicans or Democrats. Their idea was probably they're honest in intent. You got to go. They're coming after you right now? What's the noises?
I don't know. Somebody's ringing. Doesn't matter.
So what do you
say? We have phones anymore, but something was ringing.
Understand. Now, John, this is something that I find, this is a personal question from me to you. And, you know, again, there's a lot of things that you talk about and that you actually, you know, bring attention to that on a personal level. And I don't want to speak for everybody that listens to me and want to make that very clear that this is my question. But, you know, I'm concerned about not just all of the questions and the answers that we've given, you know, and what that might entail right now, but I'm concerned about the future, right? And that's why I find Bitcoin to be so I'm at home with Bitcoin, and I have like this fear, like many others, that's kind of instilled from the media, and it's a exaggerated fear. It's something that, you know, that happens by human nature. We take what we hear and then we talk about it with our friends, and then one person expands on it, and next thing you know, we're all in chains and we're all in jail next year if you ask the right person, right? But what do you envision the future like right now? Is Bitcoin going to win this battle? Is decentralization or crypto and blockchain going to be what actually saves humanity from this dystopian future that it appears to be where we're headed?
Well, Bitcoin specifically cannot. But if we talk about the world of cryptocurrency, and I'll tell you why Bitcoin cannot, let's look at the reality of Bitcoin. Let me make a comparison. Let's say your bank operated in this fashion. A plumber comes to your house to fix your sink. You write them a check for $40 or whatever. They take it to the bank, deposit it in their account, and they say, and by the way, the owner of this account that wrote me the check, what's their balance right now? And the bank goes, oh, it's that. Can you tell me what the last 25 deposits were and who they were from? Yes, of course. And please, from now on, every deposit that comes in and every payment that goes out, would you just alert me? You wouldn't be happy. But this is Bitcoin? Please God. And Ethereum and every fucking ERC20 coin?
Sure.
No, it can't possibly win. Now, doesn't mean it's not a good investment. It's going to be the standard bearer that you keep in your fucking safe or something, or you use it for transactions that you don't really give a shit that everybody in the world's going to know about. All right? No. But the real transactions are things because people generally are private. You may not want your plumber to know what your fucking balance is. You're going to have to use a privacy coin. I'm sorry. It's got to be Monero or Apollo or SafeX, Zcash. Zcash only if you're very technically competent, but also it's a good privacy coin. That's what you're going to use. We all fucking know it. You know it. So Bitcoin can't possibly be the winner. Duh. Now, which of the privacy coins will? I don't have a fucking clue. Maybe Apollo, maybe Monero. Monero, that will stand by. It's way up there.
It sets the standard.
That has cracked that motherfucker. And if someone sends you something or you send something in Monero, ain't nobody gonna know what else you have in that wallet. The only people gonna know anything are you and the receiver. Or if you're the receiver, you and the sender. End of fucking story. And only that one goddamn transaction. Please, people, use your heads. Bitcoin can't win. It's ridiculous. All right. Neither can Ethereum, neither can any ERC20 coin.
Sure.
I hate to
And
say that to the Bitcoin maximalists, but use your fucking heads, people.
well, first off, what you just said is 100% factually true. Nobody wants that kind of in-depth look into somebody's life like that way, especially on their finances. That's something that's very private to a lot of people, and I agree with you. But like you said, as a store of value, maybe of what we consider that gold of the digital world, the digital gold, analogy that's so cliched at this point. I think that's where it still fits in, personally speaking. But you have a ton of thoughts on these things, but kind of getting into that dystopian future, though, the point that I think I was trying to make on this side, John, was just that I believe that the blockchain is humanity's last chance to resolve the issues of transparency and the thoughtful interpretations of what we consider, and I say this very lightly, but what we consider to be fact right now should be verified on a transparent record from the government. If the government was really working for the people, for the most part, I would say 99% of everything would be transparent. It's not. Let's just start with voting. I mean, right? Voting should be very transparent. It's so easy to implement. And I had a guest on. I've actually referenced this on one of my last podcasts too. But Samantha Radakia, she just wrote a book called Bitcoin Pizza. She was on my show a couple podcasts ago, and she made a really good point when she was saying, that the tech exists. Like everything we need to fix this stuff exists, but people won't allow it to change. And that's not just the government people. That's us as citizens. We're not ready for this. So again, to kind of take my big chunk of words there and focus the question is blockchain humanity's last chance, and why and how, should I say, how are we going to get there, and how do we implement it? Is it just acknowledging that the world needs to know about this?
Well, let me rephrase this. It's not just our last chance. It could be the noose that hangs us all. Because listen to this. Governments are already talking about utilizing the blockchain for their own cryptocurrencies. Facebook, Libra, its own cryptocurrency. Please God, see, they are now using the blockchain to absolutely guarantee that every fucking movement, every idea, every conversation, communication, transaction is recorded in perpetuity. They will hang your ass if necessary by simply creating laws that will outlaw what you have already fucking done. So please, we can't ever accept a governance manufactured blockchain for anything. Let the government use it themselves. All right. Thank you.
No, that was probably the best answer.
I have time for one more question.
No problem. All right, John, let me do this then. I do at the very end of each of my podcasts, I do this, what I consider the quick fire, right? And so these are simple, easy yes or no questions. And I've got, how many do I have? I think I got 5 for you. Okay. So, and feel free to pass if you don't find that to be something that you want to answer, no big deal. But in the meantime, let me just, this is supposed to be fun and kind of humanize you a little bit. Let them dig into a little bit of the personality of John. All right. So, Mr. McAfee, favorite personality besides Sir Mac, of course, besides yourself, in the space?
What? My personality?
What's your favorite personality, or who's your favorite person in the crypto space?
Well, I think Vitalik Buterin, because he astonishes me that he actually exists. So fascinating.
Okay. All right. Mentor or someone in the tech space, not necessarily blockchain, that impacted your life the most?
Oh, Jesus God. In the tech space, it's impossible to say. I mean, I've been in the tech space for 52 years. I'll pass.
Okay, fair. Best movie of all time?
Best movie of all time is obviously Blade Runner, for fuck's sake. We all know that.
Great answer.
Not the new one.
Great answer.
The original one with Harrison Ford, and yes.
All right. Great answer, by the way. All right. So take into this crazy world real quick. The world is essentially ending as we know it, as far as a civilization goes. We're all still alive. You have one choice of a gun and a round. What's your gun of choice?
Please give me a third one and make it a woman.
Fair. I'll take that as a win. All right. If ever elected president, would you ever consider changing your party affiliation to, you kind of answered this a second ago, but to Bitcoin?
Okay. First of all, I can't ever be president. And anybody who thinks that seriously, you need to move out of your mother's closet.
Fair.
Okay, that's the only answer I can give, my friend.
All right. Fair enough. All right, everybody. This is Mr. McAfee. Thanks so much, John. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Till next time.